A lot of you have been waiting for this, and I know it took me a very long time to deliver, but I'm happy to bring you the second part of my very own DC Cinematic Universe. Before we start, I just want to say that I am baffled at how many of you guys watched the first part of this series. I didn't expect it to perform as well as it did, but now that I know it did, I am allowed to go full steam ahead when producing the next two parts of this series. Before we do, however, I want to quickly recap where the stories of the characters are so far with every project from Rise of the Heroes. The projects consisted of Superman Hero of Metropolis, Batman Nightfall, The Legend of Wonder Woman, Green Lantern Intergalactic Police Force, The Flash, Aquaman King of Atlantis, Superman Brainiac, Superman Batman World's Finest, and Justice League of America. Now, I'd like to clear up some gray areas before we move on to the next part of the story. For World's Finest, I forgot to mention that I also based it on the episode from the 2004 animated series The Batman Superman story. This would include the idea that Gotham was currently being rebuilt after Bane took it over, and Superman arrived to try and help clean up the mess left behind. The final battle would be Batman, Superman, Robin, Huntress against Black Mask's gang and his associates. Sorry I didn't mention that before, I got distracted. I am human and I make mistakes. I'd also like to mention that the Eradicator is also a character in the first Superman movie, serving as an alien computer that helped educate Superman about Krypton and, more importantly, is the security guard of the Fortress of Solitude. Also, I am aware that Creature Commandos kicked off James Gunn's DCU plans. I keep forgetting to mention that Superman starts the movie side of things, not the universe as a whole. Know that Creature Commandos is the first project of James Gunn's DCU. Also, I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's an incredible series and the perfect intro to James Gunn's world. With that out of the way, I would also like to point out that I am trying to experiment with different music volumes and mic sensitivities. I am an amateur, so that means I'm still learning. Thanks for alerting me to the issues I have been having, and I know that I am actively working on trying to fix it, and I hope you guys know that too. Okay, that out of the way, this is part 2 of the DCMU, which is called Monsters and Mayhem. The first movie of the second part of the overarching narrative continues Barry Allen's story within the DCMU. In the third chapter after his debut and his role in Justice League, The Flash 2 follows Barry Allen learning of the man who killed his mother, Eobard Thawne, a 25th century scientist who replicated Barry's accident and became a being known as the Reverse Flash. What follows is Barry attempting to discover who Thawne really is, while also trying to defend his nephew and wife in the process. Wally would have an arc as well, becoming Kid Flash by the second act, and the finale would be a race to the Speed Force, sort of how the TV show did their battle, which leads Barry inadvertently helping Thawne kill his mother, which makes Barry go crazy and almost kill Thawne. Wally is the one who stops him and brings him back to reality, leading to Thawne's imprisonment in Iron Heights. Barry feels immense guilt, but needs to keep himself stable to be Central City's hero. This, of course, will lead into a major chapter not just for Barry, but also the entire DCMU as a whole, but more on that later. Now we make it back to the Lanterns with Green Lantern: The Rise of Fear, which would feature, of course, Sinestro as the main villain. This movie continues his arc of losing faith in the Green Lantern Corps before joining the Yellow Lantern Corps of Fear, easily becoming its new leader and attempting to make the entire galaxy fear him, summoning the entity known as Parallax. This would be a bigger threat to fight for Hal, but he won't be alone, as this movie would also serve as John Stewart's first time being a Green Lantern, after he was set up briefly in the first film. The final battle would be on Oa between the Green Lanterns and Sinestro and Parallax, with Sinestro being beaten and sentenced to prison on Earth, while Parallax is destroyed. This event would solidify Hal and John as the Green Lanterns protecting Sector 2814, and two of the best lanterns in the entire galaxy. This would be a way to up the scale from the last movie and force Hal to become a teacher as well as fight one of his own mentors that trained him to be the lantern he is now. Continuing Diana's story, we have Wonder Woman Paradise Lost. This movie would be a movie between a trio of characters: Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, and Etta Candy, as they make their way back to Themyscira, where an ancient evil awakens in the form of Circe, who curses the island in order to rule it, alongside ancient Greek monsters such as Medusa, a Minotaur, Cerberus, and a few others, with Hades being risen from the ashes of hell as a deal was made between Hades and Circe to trade Hippolyta to him for her rule. The final battle is between Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, and Hades' army before he is banished back into the pits of Tartarus, effectively defeating him. Diana is congratulated for saving the island alongside Etta and Steve, and is given a new protege to look after in the form of Donna Troy. I don't have much to say about this one because I'm not a great writer in regards to Wonder Woman, so let's move on. We move on to a new side of the universe with Thanagard, which would be a political thriller set on Thanagard, of course. The leads are Qatar and Shaira Hall, the main Hawkman and Hawkgirl of this universe. The problem comes in the form of the powerful overtaking the weak, similar to that of Hawkworld. More of a problem comes into focus when the Shadow Thief arrives alongside Lion Mane, which forces Qatar and Shaira to fight in order to protect their beautiful homeworld. The movie would end by setting up their arrival to Earth and meeting Superman, Martian Manhunter, and Wonder Woman. There's not much to say about this one. It's another way to introduce some great Justice Leaguers, and this would be a way to throw a political thriller, as I'm not going the realistic route with Batman. So yeah, Hawkworld adaptation. That's all. We finally move on to our first original series in the form of the first season of Suicide Squad: Worst Villains Ever. The premise of the season focuses on Amanda Waller utilizing a team of villains to go out and carry a dangerous mission no hero would ever do. The members of the first team for the first mission across 10 episodes are Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, Killer Frost, King Shark, Javelin, Bronze Tiger, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher, TDK, Clock King, Savant, and Punch and Julie, all of which are spearheaded by Rick Flag. The missions in question involve securing a deadly virus, which turns into a manhunt for B'wana Beast on Corto Maltese, which in turn is also a competition with another hunter, Grifter. Out of the 13 members, Deadshot, Boomerang, Frost, Shark, Tiger, and Peacemaker survive, with the rest of them dying. B'wana Beast is rescued by Superman at the end and offered a place in the Justice League. Grifter runs off to be seen in future projects. I don't have much to say about this one other than the fact that I think it works better as a TV show rather than a series of movies. Our next film is Captain Marvel: The Power of Shazam, which is the origin film for Captain Marvel, who goes after Dr. Sivana, like in the actual Shazam. This time, however, Sivana attempts to awaken Black Adam, who's been locked away in a tomb for centuries. With Black Adam, Sivana wants to rule the world, of course, but Adam of course turns on Sivana and nearly kills him, leading to a battle between the two champions. Let's just say that the inspiration for this film was a combination of the 2019 film and the episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is called The Power of Shazam. The ending would see both champions meeting their respective teams for their next meeting, Billy meeting the League, and Lex Luthor alongside Gorilla Grodd seeking out Black Adam. This is the beginning of the arc of Dr. Fate. Fate would feature both Kent and Inza Nelson looking after the Tower of Fate. before the realm of magic is suddenly attacked by Dr. Destiny and Morgan Fed, both of whom threaten to destroy the realm, forcing Kent and Inza to go and protect their world. The movie would also feature ties to Kent's time with the Justice Society in both World War II and the Vietnam War. The World War II team features Alan Scott's Green Lantern, Jay Garrick's Flash, Dan Garrett's Blue Beetle, Hourman, Dr. Midnight, Star-Spangled Kid, Hawkman, the younger Qatar Hall, and Hawkgirl, the younger Shiera Hall. And the Vietnam team would be comprised of Stargirl, Stripe, Atom Smasher, Cyclone, Ted Kord's Blue Beetle, Dinah Lance's Black Canary, and Wildcats. We make it to the third movie for Superman, which is titled Superman Truth and Justice, which would focus on Lex Luthor creating clones of Superman to ruin his image. It doesn't end up working, however, as the cloning process for one malfunctions, causing it to deteriorate, and the other comes out of stasis too early. As you can imagine, these are Bizarro and Superboy. At the same time, Lex tries to utilize these clones to get himself a better image to run for president, which leads to Superman, Lois, and Jimmy to expose him, which leads to Lex finally using his armor in his fight with Superman, which ends with Lex being sent to Stryker's Island, with Bizarro put into a frozen capsule at the end to keep him in stasis, and the post-credit scene showcases Ra's al Ghul and Deathstroke breaking Lex out and asking for help to take out both the Dark Knight and the Man of Steel. For the second chapter of Batman's story, I chose my favorite long-running miniseries, Hush. It would be a very faithful adaptation, with exclusion of the Harvey Dent twist so we could focus more on Hush as a villain. Batman and Catwoman still have their fling, Clayface masquerades as Jason Todd, the scene with Batman and Joker is still here, the Batman and Superman fight is present, Ra's al Ghul is involved with the change that Lex and him formed an alliance as part of his scheme, and Tommy Elliot and the Riddler are still our villains. For the second Batman movie, I think it would work out pretty well. The post-credit scene would showcase Talia, Ra's daughter, revealing to Bruce that she and him had a son together before Bruce became Batman, and she needs Batman to keep the boys safe. The next project is a series focusing on Plastic Man, which would be a very comedic and lighthearted show compared to the dark and dreariness of Hush. It's just Plastic Man and Woozy Winks getting involved in some weird situations, with the villains being Rubberneck and Kite Man. It would end with Eel joining the Justice League per Superman's request. That's all. Finally, we make our way to Green Arrow and Black Canary, which is a movie focusing on the relationship between Ollie and Dinah, with the opening being the same as that awesome Green Arrow animated short, and the main villain of the film being Count Vertigo. Wildcat would also make an appearance as Dinah's godfather. The post-credits scene would showcase Ollie going to Gotham to meet Batman, who reached out to offer him and Dinah places on the Justice League. Again, I'm not really sure where this one would go, so I'll give it to someone who understands Green Arrow when I inevitably realize this. Initially, I wasn't going to make any Aquaman sequels. However, after having watched Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I figured that Aquaman's story doesn't have to be just a one and done. This movie would focus on two major plot lines: the beings of the Trench declaring war on Atlantis, and Arthur's relationship with his new proteges, Garth, aka Tempest, who is in the midst of a relationship with a girl named Tula, as well as Calderon, who becomes Aqualad. In a storyline similar to that of Avatar: The Way of Water, Calderon has a complicated relationship with his father, Black Manta, who, like most versions of Calderon's story, had a relationship with an Atlantean woman, who conceived the future Aqualad. The movie's climax is a large battle between Atlantis and the Trench, with Orm seeking redemption and dying in battle, while Aqualad fights Manta, eventually beating him, leaving him stranded somewhere in the Bahamas. The end of the movie would see Mera giving birth to her and Arthur's son, and Atlantis prospering once again. The mid-credit scene will be Lex Luthor and Gorilla Grodd finding Manta and offering him a chance to kill Aquaman. Before the finale of Part 2, we have the conclusion to Ra's al Ghul's major story arc. Here, Superman and Batman team up after learning of Ra's al Ghul's alliance with Lex Luthor. At the same time, Batman is grooming his son Damian to become a competent fighter. He's a stubborn boy, but is forced into training alongside Batman and the other Robins regardless. The scheme developed by Ra's in this film is to create an army consisting of steroid-induced monsters, with Lex and Deathstroke finding the perfect scientist in one Dr. Kirk Langstrom, threatening to kill his wife and daughter if he doesn't follow through. The mission is to cease production of the drug, save Langstrom, and take down Deathstroke and Lex. Throughout the movie, Damian learns to become a competent fighter and eventually takes on the role of Robin, leading to a battle between Batman, Superman, and Robin, and Lex in his power suit, Deathstroke, and a super-mutated version of Langstrom dubbed Man-Bat. In the end, Slate is sent back to Ra's, viciously injured from the fight, while Lex escapes. Batman threatens Ra's to never cross his turf again, or he will not take things lightly. Talia thanks Bruce for taking care of Damian, knowing he is in better hands with the Dark Knight. Despite Damian taking up the mantle of Robin, Bruce tells him that he still needs more training, leaving with Clark to go after Lex, while Damian begins a sparring match with Nightwing and Tim, now dubbed Red Robin. And finally, we have Justice League Doom, which expands the roster of the League substantially, with 2 new members on the base roster, Captain Marvel and Green Arrow. The main villains, as the title suggests, are the Legion of Doom, which is led by Lex Luthor, with influence by Brainiac, and Gorilla Grodd, with the members being Black Adam, Black Manta, Bane, Cheetah, Sinestro, Ma'alafa'ak, and Count Vertigo. The plot surrounds the Legion of Doom finding a way to incapacitate every single Justice League member currently active, save for Batman and Green Arrow as they don't have powers, which were created by Brainiac's AI, with the finale taking place at the Hall of Doom in Louisiana, with an all-out battle between the League and the Legion taking place. As Lex and Grodd attempt to run away, they are stopped in their tracks by the Trinity, before Brainiac begins to execute his plan to destroy Earth, which almost works if it weren't for the Lanterns and Superman, who seemingly destroy the android and send the Legion to prison. The movie would end with the construction of the Hall of Justice, where several other heroes make an appearance, including Dr. Fate, Green Lantern John Stewart, Black Canary, Katarin Shayera, the Beast, Plastic Man, and Wildcat. The mid-credits scene would showcase Darkseid preparing for his inevitable arrival on Earth, and the post-credits scene would showcase Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman discussing what they should do with their companions. And that, my friends, is it. I was really surprised at how much longer it took me to create this part when compared to the first part. I'm going to begin work on Part 3 almost immediately, but I know it will take me the longest, so just bear with me for the wait. It'll be out by the end of December. Until then, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all